Welcome everyone to this remote council meeting. While the CEO and I are located in the council chamber at the Civic Centre, the remainder of your councillors are coming to you live from their home and other places of work. The meeting is being held remotely because Council is under advice from the state government and the Chief Health Officer to conduct council meetings online. We will try to mimic our normal live webcast as much as possible, but because this is a remote meeting, there may be a few technical issues. I ask that you be patient with us if, for some reason, the webcast drops out. Remember that the meeting will be placed on our website afterwards so that you can watch it at your leisure. So let's get started. Mr. Benny, is there any apologies?
Single apology, Madam Mayor, from Councillor Loy Trong.
Thank you. Council acknowledges and pays respect to the past, present and future traditional owners and elders of this nation and the continuance of culture, spiritual and educational practice of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Item 1.3, offering of prayer. As part of Council's commitment to recognising the cultural and spiritual diversity of our community, the prayer this evening will be offered by Mr. Jabir Singh Sabir of the Sikh community and will be read by our Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sophie Tan. Thanks, Sophie.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The world is going up in flames. Shower it with your mercy and save it. Save it and deliver it by whatever method it takes. The true Guru has shown the way to peace. Contemplating the true word of the Shabbat Nanak, show no other than the Lord, the forgiving Lord. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item 1.4, confirmation of minutes of previous meeting. Meeting of Council held on the 26th of July 2021. Moved by
Councillor Formoso.
Councillor Formoso, seconded by Councillor Gerard. Is there any questions, councillors? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare this item carried. Item number 1.5, disclosures of interest. Mr. Benny, please.
No disclosures received, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Item number 2, Officers' Report Part 1. 2.1, Documents for Tabling. 2.1.1, Petitions and Joint Letters. Moved by
Councillor Foster, happy to move.
Councillor Foster.
Seconded by Councillor Tan.
Seconded by Councillor Tan. Is there any questions, councillors?
I've got a question, Mayor.
Yes, Councillor Tan.
This petition regarding to a public toilet that's requested for Allen Corrigan Reserve at Corrigan Road, Keysborough. I believe that so to provide a toilet or change room is that depending on the size of the park. So just to question to relevant officer, could you provide a brief recommendation to this what size the park and is it eligible to provide a toilet or change room for this park? Thanks.
Mr. Keasley, please.
Thank you, Councillor. Well, we'll be in contact with the head petitioner and we do have a response ready to go. Essentially, the strategy, the draft toilet strategy has identified a need for a 2-cubicle public toilet in Allen Corrigan Reserve at the Henderson Road, Keysborough end. The toilet is listed at priority number 7 with an implementation time frame of 2 to 3 years. Currently, priorities number 1 to 4 are in this financial year for installation. And the formal adoption of the strategy is scheduled for the council meeting at the end of September. The new public toilet will complement upgrades and revitalisation works that will soon be happening in Allen Corrigan Reserve, including new fitness equipment circuit, upgraded picnic area, tree planting, and new fencing and signage. So this year we're doing a fair bit of work in Allen Corrigan Reserve, and in a couple of years' time, the toilet will go through the CIP budget process. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cousley. Any other questions, councillors? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare this item carried. Item number 3, question time public. Mr. Benny, please.
First question this evening is from Leah Anderson of Dandenong. As a Dandenong resident and someone passionate about quality children's services, I've been looking out for the concept design for the Dandenong Community Hub that were meant to be available for public comment by the end of June. When will they be available for the public to see? Mr. Fiddler, Madam Mayor.
Mr. Fiddler, please.
Oh, thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Leah, for your question. Community engagement and consultation on the draft concept designs is scheduled to take place this September. Project information and times are regularly updated on the Council website, where there is a dedicated Dandenong Community Hub page. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Fiddler. Mr. Benny, please.
The next question is from Tim Borden of Noble Park. When will the results be publicly available of the latest Greater Dandenong Tree Canopy cover audit? Jamie Thorley, Madam Mayor.
Mr. Thorley, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Borden, for your question. The City of Greater Dandenong undertook mapping of the municipality's canopy cover in July this year, July 2021. The results of this mapping are being analysed at the moment by council officers and will form part of the final urban forest strategy and greening our neighbourhood strategy. The strategies, which will include the results of this mapping, are expected to be considered for adoption by council in September 2021. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Thorley. Mr. Benny, please.
The next question is from Emily Sloan of Noble Park. Following on from the response to Councillor Garrett's question at the last meeting, the officer response was that if we do not proceed with a local law, that does not mean that I do not look at other ways of trying to achieve that same outcome. A, what are the other possible ways that officers think a canopy cover of 15% could be reached by 2028 without a local law? B, why weren't these other ways in the urban forest strategy already? C, will the greening our neighbourhood strategy be revised to incorporate these other ways, or is that particular sub-strategy going to be left to be endorsed after the local law matter is resolved? This is a really important issue for me, and I hope to see Council leading the charge, leading the change we need to create a sustainable and healthy future for our children. Mr. Thorley, Madam Mayor.
Mr. Thorley, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Ms. Sloan, for your question. It's a great one. I've got a long response, so hopefully I'll get through it pretty quickly for you. Officers remain of the view that the combination of the ongoing implementation of the Greening Our Cities strategy, which focuses on greening council-owned land, and the future implementation of the Greening Our Neighbourhood strategy, which focuses on private land, will together see council achieve a canopy coverage of 15% by 2028. The action plan for the Greening Our Cities contains many actions already underway, such as the 15-year tree planting program, which continues to see gains in tree planting on our public land. The Greening Our Neighbourhood strategy also contains an action plan that sets out actions to address canopy coverage on private land, such as collaborating with residents to establish an ongoing garden for wildlife program, developing landscaping guidelines to ensure appropriate planting is undertaken for new developments, and advocating for improved planting outcomes through the planning scheme. As such, these actions by which to achieve this target on private land are already set out in the draft Greening Our Neighbourhood strategy. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Thorley. Mr. Benny, please.
The next question is from Ranka Trisick of Dandenong. In the Council's recently revised Community Hub framework, it is clearly indicated in the principles of community hubs that community hubs be integrated and intergenerational, meeting the diverse needs of all community members regardless of their age. When made publicly available, will there be an assessment of how the Dandenong Community Hub aligns with the Council's Community Hub framework's objectives to do that? Mr Fiddler, Madam Mayor.
Mr Fiddler, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Ranker, for your question. The development of the Dandenong Community Hub is being undertaken in accordance with Council's recently revised Community Hubs framework. Council's initial consultation and engagement focused on gathering feedback from a broad range of community members, service providers and interest groups on what they desired in a community hub. Based on this feedback, the development of draft concept plans for the Dandenong Hub can now be developed. Once drafted, Council will engage in an additional program of consultation and engagement to gather community views on the concepts. The concepts will incorporate integrated, intergenerational, flexible and adaptable spaces designed to meet the needs of Dandenong's diverse community. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Fiddler. Mr Benny, please.
Yes, the next question is from Pam Naylor of Noble Park. Given the essential importance of increasing tree canopy cover for tackling climate change, why doesn't the Council offer financial incentives for people to keep their large trees? Mr Thorley, Madam Mayor.
Mr Thorley, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Pam, for your question. Council officers are of the view that it is more important to educate the community on the benefit and importance of trees on individual properties and the wider community. This approach will mean that residents are more likely to have a greater appreciation of trees and therefore are more likely to retain existing and/or plant new vegetation in the long term. This said, Council will be looking at other initiatives that some of our neighbouring councils are currently implementing. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Thorley. Mr Benny, please.
The next question is from Ailsa Lord of Noble Park. How is the Council going to reach 15% canopy cover over Greater Dandenong by 2028 by planting trees on public land alone if the canopy cover on private land, which makes up 73% of all land, is only 5.6% tree canopy cover, which is clearly stated in the draft Greater Dandenong Greening Our Neighbourhood Strategy 2021 to 2028. Mr Thorley, Madam Mayor.
Mr Thorley, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Ms Lord, for your question. As mentioned earlier, the draft action plan for the Greening Our Neighbourhood Strategy contains a considerable number of actions that will assist with both the retention of existing vegetation and the planting of new vegetation on private land. The implementation of these actions will assist Council in meeting the 15% canopy coverage target by 2028. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Thorley. Mr Benny, please.
The next question is from Binay Prasad of Noble Park. As of now, August 2021, which councils in Melbourne already have tree protection controls of some form on private land? Which ones don't? And which ones are in the process of considering them at the moment? Mr Thorley, Madam Mayor.
Mr Thorley, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for your question, Binay. At the moment, the metro councils that are currently have a local law that requires a permit to remove certain trees are Bayside, Boroondara, Darebin, Frankston, Glen Ira, Hobsons Bay, Kingston, Moonee Valley, Moreland, Port Phillip, Stonington and Yarra. So there's quite a few. There are also some metro councils that have tree protection controls within their planning scheme. However, these are generally those on the urban fringe that have some rural landscapes of significance or areas of heritage significance. Greater Dandenong itself has a vegetation protection overlay to protect trees within its green wedge zone. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Thorley. Mr Benny, please.
The next question is from Sian Seaver of Dandenong. Will there be 3-year kindergarten, 4-year-old kindergarten and long day care in the Dandenong Community Hub as requested by over 400 Dandenong residents in a petition earlier this year? Mr Fiddler, Madam Mayor.
Mr Fiddler, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Shan, for your question. The detailed scope of the Dandenong Community Hub, including the inclusion of early years services such as 3-year-old and 4-year-old kindergarten and long daycare, is currently being reviewed and discussed by Council. Once a determination has been endorsed, concept plans will be developed and placed on public display for community feedback. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Fiddler. Mr. Benny, please.
The next question is from Sylvia Mastrogiovanni of Dandenong. In the Council's recently revised Community Development Framework, it is written that community hubs are meant to form the foundation of strong neighbourhoods. When the business case for the Dandenong Community Hub is made publicly available, will there be an assessment of how the Dandenong Community Hub will meet the community development needs of Dandenong residents and help form a stronger Dandenong community? Mr. Fiddler.
Mr. Fiddler, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Sylvia, for your question as well. The development of the Dandenong Community Hub is being undertaken in accordance with Council's recently revised Community Hubs framework. The business case for the hub will include an assessment of how the hub relates to this framework, and it will be available for public display. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Fiddler. Mr. Benny, please.
Next one is from Susan Smith of Dandenong. Community hubs elsewhere in Greater Dandenong are being built with public playgrounds, or there are existing plans to build them. Public playgrounds are great draw cards for community hubs. Given that and the fact that the residents who live in the neighbourhood around Sleep Avenue have no public playground, will there be a public playground in the Dandenong Community Hub? Mr. Fiddler.
Mr. Fiddler, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Susan, again for your question. Council is currently reviewing all the options for inclusion of the Dandenong Community Hub, including options for outdoor public space. Concept plans are being scheduled for exhibition in September for community engagement, and we welcome all residents and stakeholders' feedback. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Fiddler. Mr. Benny, please.
The next is from Philip Plews of Dandenong. Will the Dandenong Community Hub be planned for the population and needs of Dandenong residents for the expected life of the building, likely 40 years, as that seems to be the standard for councils? Mr. Fiddler, Madam Mayor.
Mr. Fiddler, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Philip. The planning for the Dandenong Community Hub makes use of existing population estimations based on data provided by the federal and state government, but this data does not include estimations beyond the 15-year time period. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Fiddler. Mr. Benny, please.
The next question is from Tamara Kojic of Dandenong. Will the new Dandenong Community Hub have a large community lounge like that planned for the Keysborough South Community Hub? It's informal spaces like that, like this, that are essential for community development in a fragmented community like Dandenong, particularly for emerging community groups in low-income areas and particularly with mothers groups, which is why co-location with children's services is so important. Mr. Fiddler, Madam Mayor.
Mr. Fiddler, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Tamara, for your question. Council has received feedback from the community and key stakeholders for the Dandenong Community Hub to be designed with welcoming, friendly, formal and informal spaces, such as a community lounge. This feedback will provide the architect with important information in the concept design process, which will be presented to the community for feedback. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Fiddler. Mr. Benny, please.
The next is from Barbara Wills of Dandenong. The Greater Dandenong Children's Plan on the Council agenda tonight shows that in the next 4 years that there will be a growth of almost 4,000 children in Greater Dandenong by 2025, with the suburb experiencing the most growth being Dandenong. But why is the document silent on population projections for the next 10, 15, 20 years? New community facilities like the Dandenong Community Hub will last at least 40 years, so need to be future-proofed. Mr. Fiddler. Mr.
Fiddler, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Barbara, for your question. The Greater Dandenong Children's Plan 2021 to 26 is intended to provide Council with a strategic framework to direct its efforts in improving the health and well-being of children and their families over the coming 5 years. The plan makes use of existing population estimations based on data provided by the federal and state government, but this data does not include estimations beyond the 15-year time period, as this data is either not available or has many fluctuations and cannot be forecast accurately. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Fiddler. Mr. Benny, please.
The next is from Tina Congus of Dandenong. The response to my question at the last council meeting did not answer my fundamental question about sincere consultation. Why is there going to be a council decision of the scope of the Dandenong Community Hub before concept designs are shown to the public, when the only council decision about the scope of the Keysborough South Community Hub and the new Dandenong Aquatic Centre was made after the concept designs were exhibited to the public? Mr. Fiddler, Madam Mayor.
Mr. Fiddler, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Tina, for your question. The initial community consultation and engagement concerning the Dandenong Community Hub commenced on the 10th of May this year, and it went to the 11th of June this year. These sessions formed an introduction and discussion on the overall project, focusing and asking on what people wanted to see and also experience culturally in the hub. Feedback was also sought on possible site locations. Council's endorsement of a preferred site and intended service inclusions are necessary to provide the consultants with clear guidance for the development of the concept plan and business case. Once completed, the draft concept plan and site analysis results will be exhibited through an extensive round of community engagement and consultation. Having then considered and incorporated community feedback, only then will the business case and concept design be finalised and endorsed by Council. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Fiddler. Mr. Benny, please.
The next question is from Sabrina Miletto of Dandenong. The adoption of the new Greater Dandenong Children's Plan is in the agenda tonight. As it seems that all of the substance of the Children's Plan are in the annual plans to come, how will there be meaningful community feedback into those annual plans? And when will the first annual plan be finalised? And how will it be made available to the public? Mr. Fiddler, Madam Mayor.
Mr. Fiddler, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Sabrina, for your question. The draft Children's Plan incorporates 29 key strategic actions under 5 primary strategic objectives, and it's publicly available, or will be available, on Council's website. The annual action plan is an operational document guiding Council service delivery against those key strategic actions. The progress of the annual action plan is reported to Council. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Fiddler. Mr. Benny, please.
The next one is from Claire Alvarez of Dandenong. Regarding a Dandenong Community Hub, which I believe would be fantastic for our city and hopefully be all-inclusive from young kids to the elderly, I am concerned that the development and integration of a children's plan in 2019 didn't eventuate and does not seem to be included in the new plan. Can Council advise me of the progress of the current plan? Thank you. Mr. Fiddler.
Mr. Fiddler, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Claire, for your question. Council's new draft children's plan will continue the important work of the previous plan, 2015 to 2019, which was very successful in achieving outcomes for the City of Greater Dandenong. For example, one was the integration and bringing together of early years education, primary education and community support through the Community Hubs in Schools project. I also assume your question is referring to the progress of the Dandenong Community Hub, where you may be aware that Council in the last budget committed to the development of a business case, concept plans and site analysis. The consultants have completed the initial engagement and consultation phase of this work, participated in workshops with councillors, and will now progress with the development of draft concept plans, which we expect to have completed for public consultation and engagement in September this year. The project webpage at Council's website will be continually updated as we progress this important project, and it also includes contact details if any residents would like to call us and have a chat for further information or anything else around the Dandenong Community Hub. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Fiddler. Mr. Benny, please.
The next question is from Matthew Kerwin of Noble Park. As the former councillor who initiated the development of the All Abilities Playground with a feasibility study back in 2014, it is great to see the All Abilities Playground almost complete. Overall, it looks exciting. A, when is it expected to be open to the public? B, was the playground design assessed for climate change impact? And if not, why not? At the design workshop I attended as a councillor, I warned against the use of artificial materials wherever possible, instead emphasising the use of grass and landscaped areas. There seems to be an excessive number of rubber play surfaces, which urban designers like Dr. Sebastian Fausch from Western Sydney University have found can reach above 100 degrees C on hot days and are thus unfit for children to use now on hot days, and even more so in a world where extreme temperatures are becoming commonplace. To a lesser extent, the same problem can be seen in the recent Tedderson Park Insect Park playground upgrade. Councils across Melbourne are moving away from hard, hot surfaces in playgrounds. Why is Greater Dandenong moving towards creating them? Mr. Thorley, Madam Mayor.
Mr. Thorley, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for your question, Matthew. The All Abilities Playground is at the final stage of construction along with the main toilet block and is anticipated to be completed by the end of August. A soft opening date based on the works being completed will be determined in due course. A notice to the public will be issued when this decision has been made. In terms of the playground construction materials, the playground has been designed to be fully accessible, which requires the use of some rubber and hard stand surfaces to enable all users to have equal access to the equipment. This said, the predominant surface finishes are of soft landscaping elements such as mulch, grass, and large areas of landscaping. Council designs playgrounds to be accessible to all people in accordance with the playground standards and to respond to climate change. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Thorley. Mr. Benny, please.
The next two questions are from Dom Bakari of Keysborough. They are very similar, so I'll read both questions together and Mr. Kearsley will respond. The first of those is, are Council advocating to state and federal governments for COVID stimulus funding for the Green Wedge Trail? If not, why not? And the second question, what is Council's plans to deliver to the community the Green Wedge Trail over the next 12 to 18 months? Mr. Kearsley, Madam Mayor.
Mr. Kearsley, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Bakari, for the two questions. I'll take the second one first and then follow through with some comments with regards to funding. We anticipate that the rollout of a network of trails in accordance with the Green Wedge Trail Plan will continue to be funded through a mixture of council and Victorian government funding. While no funding is currently allocated to projects within this plan, those which I foresee being considered for funding within the next few years are the River End Road Recreational Loop and the sealing of the Dandenong Creek Trail between Eastlink and Patterson Lakes. The Dandenong Creek Trail has been recognised by the Victorian Government as a state significant route, and we have submitted this for consideration within several streams of potential funding. The River Road Recreational Loop will be considered in upcoming council budgets, and it is anticipated to be delivered alongside the reconstruction of the road at this location. We were disappointed that the Mordialloc Freeway project did not deliver sections of this loop despite our advocacy efforts. As detailed in our Green Wedge Walking, Cycling and Equestrian Trails Plan, delivery of a comprehensive network of trails in this area will take significantly longer than the 12 to 18th timeframe of this question. With regards to the continuing advocacy, that's something that we pride ourselves that at every opportunity we do advocate for a range of projects. The COVID stimulus funding opportunities, I believe, are referred to are currently, unfortunately at this point, not available. However, we do keep our eye on the different streams of funding that becomes available by both state and federal governments. The advocacy we are currently undertaking is likely to be tied with the upcoming Victorian and possibly federal government budgets also into an election year. Unfortunately, the criteria of recent COVID grant processes has not necessarily assisted us with regards to the specifics of the trail and the type of funding that is required. but that doesn't stop us from having a look at what is available and then making the appropriate submission for grants. And we're happy to keep both the community and council involved and included with information updates on how we intend to follow through with some further budget submissions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Keasley. Mr. Benny, please.
The next question is also from Don Bakari. What is Council doing to support our local CFA firefighters and other emergency services battle through our narrow streets that have cars parked on both sides of these streets due to townhouse development not having enough car parking on the private properties? Mr. Keasley, Madam Mayor.
Mr. Keasley, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Bakari, for this important question. New housing and unit developments are required to adhere to the planning scheme with regards to both on-site parking provision and road widths, which take into consideration emergency vehicle access. The planning scheme highlights and identifies subdivision criteria that are required to be satisfied. In addition to this, the Victorian road rules identify motorists must not park in a location where they do not leave at least 3 metres of clear road space beside their vehicle. This road rule is in place to ensure sufficient space is provided for emergency vehicle access. If there are any specific locations where parked vehicles may be causing issues for such services, these locations should be forwarded to Council for investigation to ensure compliance with this particular road rule. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Keasley. Mr. Benny, please.
Next question is from Matthew Kerwin of Noble Park. In the agenda item 4.2.2, report on matters discussed at councillor briefing sessions and pre-council meetings 12 and 19 July 2021. It is mentioned that the community garden policy, which has been under development for over a year, was discussed at the briefing session on the 19th of July. When will it finally come to a council meeting for adoption? Mr. Thorley, Madam Mayor.
Mr. Thorley, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for your question, Matthew. The community gardens policy and guidelines have been developed and presented to councillors. You're correct. Officers are now finalising the documents to include councillor feedback from this meeting, and it is intended to table the policy and guidelines at a council meeting in September for adoption. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Thorley. Mr. Benny, please.
The final question this evening is from Val Raperti of Dandenong North. Keysborough South Community Hub project had a high-level concept design that was publicly consulted on, followed by the creation of a more detailed concept design that was consulted on. Will the Dandenong Hub project be following the same two-step consultation process? And if not, why not? Mr. Fiddler, Madam Mayor.
Mr. Fiddler, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Val, for your question. The concept plan for the Dandenong Community Hub will be publicly exhibited once developed, and community feedback will be incorporated prior to the finalisation. Following on from the development of the business case and the concept plan, the detailed design will be undertaken, including public consultation. This is the same process that has been followed throughout the development of the Keysborough South Community Hub. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Fiddler. Item number 4, Officers Report Part 2. 4.1, Policy and Strategy. 4.1.1, Amendment C232, Application for Heritage Overlay, Jarvis House, the Jug House. 1054 to 1060 Heatherton Road, Noble Park. Move.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to move an alternate motion, please.
Could you please read out your alternate motion, please?
The alternate motion is that the Council resolves to abandon Planning Scheme Amendment C232G-AN and proceed no further with it.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Milkovich, seconded by, I need a seconder, Councillor Garrard. Is there any questions, councillors? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare this item carried. Thank you.
Could I speak on the motion, Madam Mayor, please?
Councillor Milkovich, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. What I wanted to say is that the timing of this particular proposal for a heritage overlay protection was not only ill-timed and ill-fated, but it was also inconsiderate of everyone involved, including the current owners or the now, old owners, new owners, and also the agents involved in the process. What I find concerning was the fact that this was started by, I would say, a selfish group of residents who had no consideration for what this particular process might involve, an emotional hurt that it would cause to these people. Now, to give a bit of a background about this property, I've actually done a bit of a research. It was purchased back in 1993, some 28 years ago. So we have a family who has purchased a family home almost 30 years ago and painstakingly paid it off, through rates and, loans and everything. And to have a newspaper article put the process of a sale and possible retirement, happy retirement for these people in turmoil was just something that made me sick to my stomach, I gotta say. If this was done at any other time, I wouldn't have had an issue of looking at it in a different light. But to actually go and sabotage a sale when people have already catered for this sort of money, they've had obviously professionals there to appraise the property, and obviously were looking to use this money possibly for their future retirement or future purchase, to then be thrown this burden of something completely unnecessarily, I find quite disturbing. And that was the reason for the alternate motion tonight. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Milkovich. Councillor Garrard, do you want to say something?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would just like to say that the community members that initiated this process did so in valuing a community asset, and I applaud their initiative and I applaud their concern for what they consider to be a valuable community asset. In this case, it had unintended consequences, and that was unfortunate. The community members were not to know that. I don't think we should undermine that the community members that undertake this kind of initiative are doing it from a point of view of concern for their community and wanting to value what's important in their community. And I don't think we should. I don't think we should look negatively on that. They were not to know what the unintended consequences were.
Thank you, Councillor Garrard. Item number 4.1.2, Children's Plan.
May I have my hand up?
Sorry. Councillor Dark, did you want to speak on the previous item?
Yes, I did, Mayor, if I could please.
I'm sorry about that. Go ahead.
You're right. Mayor, I wish to speak, I suppose, and second what Councillor Milkovich has said as well. This was a very ill-timed planning application, particularly given that the correspondence that we received was from the vendor's daughter, who was quite distressed. And there's nothing worse than a poor old lady who's been in the house for, as Councillor Milkovich said, close to 28 years and lived quite peacefully in harmony, and then come to an agreement to sell the property to somebody who, by their own admission, has said that their intention is to retain the dwelling, and then find that all of a sudden, as they're attempting to get finance, councils are starting to make moves regarding a planning application. Certainly I can see that there's always merit in heritage applications, particularly in the right location for the right property. I know there's been immense conversation about other ones, such as the Uniting Church on Chapel Road and other facilities as well, but it needs to be done in the right way. So I think in the future there needs to be an assessment done across multiple properties in our municipality that may or may not have heritage value. And I think that's something that we definitely may do, rather than by the time this comes up to councils being notified, there's a Keysborough ward resident who's gone out to the media, who's attacked the council, who's been on the aggressive front foot, and at the other time you have a poor vendor who's been disadvantaged quite heavily. So I applaud and thank my council colleagues for supporting the abandonment of this planning.
Thank you, Councillor Dark. We will go on to the next item, 4.1.2, Children's Plan 2021 to 2026. Moved by Councillor Lim. Yep.
Yeah, Councillor Lim. Yep.
Seconded by Councillor Garrard. Is there any questions, councillors? Is there any opposition?
Councillor Dark in opposition.
In opposition, Councillor Dark. Councillor Lim, please, you've got 5 minutes.
Yeah, to me, because according to the report, I think we seem to be very quite informative report regarding to the children plan for our city, and also in the report it seems to be children have told us about their their needs, and also we try to value working with the council to make decision for their need, and also not just that. Sometimes we have to work hard.
Councillor Lim, could you? Yeah, could we can't see your face? You had the page in front of your face.
All right, thank you. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, to me, I agree with that because the children plan is very informative, and also it's quite good to adopt this sort of a children plan. For me, I don't have any issue that why Councillor Dark oppose this sort of children plan. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Garrard, you're a seconder.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I applaud this plan. It's important that we have a strategic plan which outlines the priorities and objectives going forward for the children of Dandenong. A great deal of work has gone into this plan, which is informed by robust data and has undergone an extensive consultation process and has provided a strong focus and a way forward in the next 5 years.
Thank you, Councillor Garrard. In opposition, Councillor Dark.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I'm in opposition to this document, a couple of reasons, and the reasons are fundamental reasons I can't support this document. The children's plan in the city of Great Dandenong, given we have one of the lowest socio-economic communities, one where we have a large amount of people who have migrated from other countries who may not necessarily speak English as a second language, countries where they do not have a whole lot of money and access to high levels of private education, and they are taking what they can get. It is important that when kids are still young and they're still kids growing up, that they do have the development options available to them to just be kids. That's a simple thing. I think that there's certain things they do with sensory options. You see that within childcare centres, within kindergartens, and I think that that's an important part. Learning the basics to set the foundations for a future career, or a future life, I suppose, is something that I think is very, very, very important. To have as one of the key principles climate change and sustainability is absolutely ludicrous. I think this is setting out to clearly get involved at an early age to indoctrinate children on things that are completely out of their realm of being able to have any control or any involvement in whatsoever. What they should be doing is learning the basics of basic numerical skills, the basics of handwriting, the prepping, getting ready for when they go into school. And Councillor Gower can roll back in her chair and shake her head as much as she likes, but it's a legitimate concern. And I think that a lot of parents, if they were told that within the children's plan in this municipality, that their children were going to be taught climate change and all these issues around global warming and the effects they're going to have as their little kids and scare them to death, is not what the majority of parents want. What they want when they send their children to our kindergartens, to our facilities, is knowing that the reputation of the city of Greater Dandenong is a safe place to go as children, is a safe place to be. And I think it's absolutely something that being put in as a major principle is crazy. And I think that is a massive issue within this document, and that is why I cannot support it.
Thank you, Councillor Dark. Is there any other speakers for or against?
Councillor O'Reilly, Mayor.
Councillor O'Reilly, please.
I speak for. Look, I've heard what Councillor Dark has said. The climate change and sustainability is one part of the overarching plan, and I would absolutely trust that that topic is delivered on an evidence basis, and it should not be delivered ideologically either way. So you can debate the causes of climate change, but the fact is the climate is changing. That's not debatable, that's actual science. And children are taught science every day of the week in schools, so there's no reason why they shouldn't learn about the climate and the causes of it and the science, and that is what Council is delivering, a whole suite of topics in the children's plan. So I see no problem with the children's plan at all. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor O'Reilly. Councillor Milkovich, you indicated you wanted to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I wish to speak against this. My reasons are quite similar to Councillor Dark's, is that I'm unnecessarily placing a burden of anxiety on our kids who are, as I believe as well as Councillor Dark quite so well said, is that they need to be just kids. They need to learn the basics. Now, what I'm afraid of is that we are creating through this process a generation of anxiety amongst kids that they are actually involved and taught about something they can do nothing about. They cannot, as a matter of fact, change it. However, they are burdened with information and bits and pieces that they will find out later on in life. I mean, none of us, when we were born, actually faced climate change, okay? We have, over the time, become aware as adults, not as kids, as to what it is, what it entails, and what the consequences of that may or may have not been. So why can't we, as what we've done 20 years ago, 30, 40 years ago when I was a kid, have kids learn how to tie shoelaces? Why can't we have them play with Play-Doh? Why do they have to be burdened with something they have no control over, nor can they actually, while they're kids, do anything about? And that's the reason why I oppose this particular plan. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Milkovich. Councillor Lim, you actually are the mover. Sorry, Councillor Lim, you get a right of reply. I've just got to ask the other councillors if there's any other one that wants to speak for or against. Eden, please. Oh, sorry,
Thanks,
Councillor
Madam
Foster.
Mayor. I think as a clinical psychologist, I think I can speak on matters about triggering anxiety in young people. I work with young people, and I think, you know, I know myself when I was brought up, we were taught about the hole in the ozone layer. That didn't scare me as a child. We were taught about stranger danger. That didn't scare me as a child, but it made me aware. It builds awareness. These questions are not about triggering anxiety in children. This is about building awareness. And I mean, it's about assessing their awareness as well. And our young people are fully aware of climate change and the risks there. So I think I don't see any issue with the child plan, and I fully support it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Foster. Is there any other speakers for or against? No. Councillor Lim, as you're the mover, you get right of reply. Thank you.
Yep. Just would like to reply to Councillor Dark and Councillor Milkovic. I agree with Councillor Garage and Councillor Foster and also Sean O'Reilly. To me, as a scientist, we understand very well about climate change, like ozone layer, talk about Eden, Councillor Foster talk about that. And we learn at school, we understand very well about climate change. And you heard on the news, you know, from time to time about the young children, they're protesting, you know, or we ask the government to do something about our climate change for the future generation. You've seen on the television recently in Europe about bushfire, about, you know, flood, you know, ravaged Belgium and Germany, those sort of places. And not just that, in Australia as well, you can see every year we have bushfire, we have flood all over the place. To me, if we don't do something, and we're going to have problem in the future. I think the children, I don't think create any stress or anything whatsoever. They understand very well. They sort of, at the moment, they sort of involved with this sort of activity as well. And also they join the protest as well from time to time. Therefore, I really encourage everyone, every councillor to support this children plan, because I don't think anything to do with stress to the children at all. They understand, they've been educated from primary school. Yeah, thanks for that, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Now, I'm going to call out each individual councillor by name, and you either say for or against. Councillor Dark?
Against.
Thank you. Councillor Formoso?
For, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Foster?
For, Madam Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Garrard?
For, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Lim?
For, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Mamedi?
For, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Milkovich?
Against.
Thank you. Councillor O'Reilly?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Tan?
For, thank you.
And I'm for it as well. So the count is 8-4. So the item is carried. Thank you very much. Item number 4.2 other. 4.2.1, Central and Victor Avenues, Dandenong North, sale of land. Moved by
Councillor Dark.
Councillor Dark, seconded by Councillor Milkovich. Is there any questions, councillors?
Yes, I have a question for the relevant officer.
Yes, Councillor Dark.
Thank you, Mayor. I note in the report that this item or this tract of land has been under council control for quite some time. And I know there's been some legislative changes and the legislative changes that have been implemented are ones to do with the exceptions of land and being able the right to claim council land in the future. I note in the report that there's several lot owners who actually have fenced off council land that belongs to the ratepayers into their private properties. Have we consulted with them, and where are we at in terms of the council land they have, and what are we planning on doing with that?
Mr. Thorley, please, is it? Yes, please, sorry. Ms. Roberts, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Dark, for the question. We have consulted with all the property owners behind Victor and Central Avenues. They all haven't responded at this point in time, but we will continue to contact them. The adverse possession laws, I believe, are the ones you're querying about, and that only applies if council does not own the land or the land doesn't vest in council. We have taken steps to ensure that the land does vest in council, so adverse possession doesn't apply. We will continue to liaise with all the owners of the adjacent land and endeavour to sell the land off as the future unfolds.
Thank you, Ms. Roberts. Any other questions?
Madam Mayor.
Sorry, yes.
Councillor Mehmeti.
Councillor Mehmeti, thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the relevant officer. We're actually engaging with the residents at the moment to sell the land. If we don't come to this conclusion, will council then, the people who have actually put the fence up and actually into council's land, can we actually make them put the fence back to their line? Because we're giving them an option to buy it, and if they don't want to buy it, well then they need to put the fence back on the line where it needs to be. Will we be enforcing this?
Ms. Roberts, thanks.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Yes, we can enforce it if the person on the other side of the land has an issue with where the fence boundary is. We tend not to want to go down that path, and we will continue to liaise with the owners to get a more favourable outcome.
Thank you, Ms. Roberts. Councillor Mehmeti.
Just a follow-up question, Madam Mayor. Can we have like a time limit of 12 months? And then if you know, we should give them a bit of time. I'm happy to say 12 months. And if they don't want to purchase the land after 12 months, we actually do enforce it.
Ms. Roberts, please. We
can do that, and we can future-proof future sales as well by putting certain information on the land information certificate as well, in case down the track the land is sold, so people know that if land is contained within their boundary, that land may not be part of their title.
Thank you, Ms. Roberts. Councillor Mehmeti, you're on mute. That's right. Councillor Milkovich, please.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to ask, as someone who's actually owned the land or owned the property that is within a specified zone or within this zone that's got this easement running through, I was actually never made aware. This is talking about, I bought a land, you know, a house probably about 15 years ago and moved out about 4 or 5 years ago. Why wasn't anyone ever made aware of this sort of easement running through, and where is the easement related to the actual current boundary between the back of the property between Victor Avenue and 3rd Avenue as far as the fence line goes? Do we know like how far in, what sort of measurements are on either side of the fence? And also, if we cannot come to an agreement with the property owners, do we really enforce it? I mean, it's been fenced off as far as I understand for the last 20, 30, 40 years. None of the neighbours that I knew in the area, and I knew quite a lot of them, never actually mentioned anything about it. So how does this actually come about now?
Ms. Roberts, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Thanks, Councillor Councillor Milkovic for the question. There are several carriageways behind different streets that are land vested in council, and for some reason many years ago when the original subdivision took place, the land should have been vested in council but wasn't. It was kept in the name of the original landowner who subdivided the land. So there's small pockets of land that are still like this one that should be vested in council that aren't, and we invariably find out about them when somebody asks us about land at the rear of their property. So while that's how it came about, that's how this investigation came about for this carriageway at the rear of Central and Victor Avenues, and that's why we've investigated it. Drainage reserve, sorry.
Just to follow up, Madam Mayor, can't we then, just as a matter of friendly relations, I mean, this has been done last 40 years and sitting like that, can't a re-establishment survey be done, because this is not a huge parcel of land, and land just being allocated and retitled to the property owners without going through this process of now trying to recoup the money which nobody knew they actually didn't own, and the council actually obviously inadvertently didn't know they actually owned at all. I mean, we're not talking hundreds of square miles or 100 square kilometres of land. We're talking about a small easement, maybe 1.8, maybe 2.4 metres wide, which might stretch, 900 mil or 1.2 metres on either side of the boundary. Can't this land just be transferred to the property owners to avoid all the hassle with it? Thank you.
Madam Mayor, can I suggest that this is a matter that we should brief council in more detail on. This is in fact a drainage reserve. It's a 3 metre wide drainage reserve. That detail is in the plans attached, the title attached to the report. So it's not a narrow strip of land. And the complication with drainage reserves is that if this drainage reserve includes a drain and that drain runs down the middle of the reserve, you can't build a fence in the middle and share it 50-50 between adjacent properties. It's invariably for a drainage reserve, unlike a carriageway easement that Ms Roberts referred to that all residents should know about because they'd have rights of carriageway over the easement. Drainage reserves are a lot more complicated and a lot harder to identify, except for the fact that somebody has got 10 feet or 3 metres extra sitting in their yard. So all of your questions are otherwise relevant. It doesn't need a re-establishment survey. It's not hard to identify the difference of 10 feet or 3 metres in someone's, the dimensions or the depth of their property, but drainage reserves are not uncommon throughout the municipality. There'd be many of these, and this isn't just not the only location where we've got this complication. So my preference would be to brief the councillors on those complications, on what we have, what the alternatives are for dealing with it, rather than necessarily trying to resolve it by question and answer here this evening.
Thank you, Mr Benny. Councillor Milkovic.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to shed some light on this particular one, like I said, as someone who's actually on the property there, this particular easement, drainage easement, is actually in the books with South East Water marked as a disused easement. Now, I know for a fact that properties that are facing Victor Avenue, their drainage is on the curb, and also the sewer drainage is also, the sewer is actually on the nature strip as well as the water supply. So this particular easement there is actually a disused easement, meaning it's just a vacant piece of land that's sitting there. So I think maybe we should, like you said, do a bit more investigation, but I think it should be a bit simpler than what it is. And if it is disused in as a matter of fact, which I believe it is, then the process might not involve, selling and off-selling or whatever, but maybe just a simple transfer. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Milkovic. Is there any other questions, councillors? Sorry? Yeah, I haven't. It's been moved and seconded, though.
Yes.
Yeah. No other questions, councillors? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare this item carried. Item number 4.2.2, report on matters discussed at councillor briefing sessions and pre-council meetings the 12th and 19th of July 2021. Moved by...
Happy to move it there. Councillor Tan.
Councillor Tan.
Happy
Seconded by Councillor Lim. Is there any questions, councillors? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare this item carried. Item number 4.2.3, list of registered correspondence to Mayor and Councillors. Moved by
Madam Mayor.
Councillor Garrard, seconded by
Councillor Tan.
Councillor Tan. Is there any questions, councillors?
Yeah, I've got a question, Mayor.
Yes, Councillor Tan.
This one's a question from a Keysborough resident regarding to Frederick Wachter Reserve and any master plan proposal. Have any officer replied back to our resident yet?
Which one would that be?
Page 145.
145, thank you.
Mayor, it's Councillor Dark.
Councillor Dark?
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, yeah, the
sorry,
correspondence
before,
came from
sorry,
a resident. It was
Councillor Dark. Councillor, Mr. Keasley was going to answer the question, so then
Yeah,
you can ask the question.
I just want to seek clarification because there was several emails I've sent from different residents.
Right.
Which one that was with regards to? Because there was quite a few with regards to Wachter, one to do with the tennis club, one to do with the works. I'm not sure the way this has been put in, which one that's referring to.
All right. Councillor Tan, which one were you referring to?
I was just saying it's regarding to Federal Water Reserve and any master plan proposal.
All right. Mr. Keasley, please.
Thank you, Councillor and Councillor Dark. I have a feeling this one relates to the one that you're referring to, which is the one with regards to the ongoing works and the master plan. We have responded to the resident, both via email and to yourself, I think dated the 30th of July, so a week and a bit ago, and that was advising them that the completion of the water body storage work, the contracts have been let for the construction of the boardwalk, and prefabrication of the boardwalk is being undertaken in advance. Plants are being grown now, installation program for September. So I believe it's the same person. If I will double check that just to make sure, but we have responded and given the resident information on the questions that they were raising.
Thank you, Mr. Keasley. Is there any other questions, councillors?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Councillor Mamedi.
I would just like to thank the Dandenong Community Association for supplying us this information pack. I'm not sure if you can actually see it, but it quite clearly says that regarding the community hub, Dandenong's population at the moment is 38,000 and it's going to increase to about 52,000 by about 2030.
Excuse me,
Councillor. There's a lot
Mamedi.
of other things there that you can have a read of, and I'd like to thank them for supplying this. And will this copy actually be out on our agenda, so other people in the community can actually see this pack as well, Madam Mayor?
I think it's on the website. Is that correct? Not yet. It's not our. It's not our document, Councillor Mamedi.
Yeah, can we put it in the minutes because it's a document that's been given to council?
Can it go in the minutes? I've been informed that maybe I ask Miss Sprague, please.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, can I please have that question again?
We've received this from the Dandenong Community Association. It's the Dandenong Community Hub Information Pack. I'm just wanting to know, can we put this in our minutes so other people in the community can actually see what's in this information pack?
Yes, we can certainly add that to the minutes, no problem.
Thank you very much.
That'd be great. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Any other questions, councillors? No? I think we've moved in second. And no opposition? I declare the item carried. Item number 4.2.4, South East Leisure Board, appointment of councillor representative.
Happy to move it.
Moved by Councillor Milkovich, seconded by Councillor
Dark.
Dark. Is there any questions, councillors? Yes, Councillor Formoso.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say a big thank you to my fellow councillors for entrusting me to be the representative. Very excited about this
Excuse
project.
me, Councillor.
Everybody
Formoso.
knows that sport,
Excuse me, Councillor.
rec, being of our community is definitely one of the
Councillor Formoso.
highest priorities.
It is to pass first.
You have to ask a question. That is just a comment which you can add after it's all been passed.
My apologies.
That's all right. Is there any questions, councillors? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare this item carried. Now, Councillor Formoso, you wanted to say something? Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
No.
Oh, we're having a bit of technical trouble.
Thank God.
Likewise, yeah, congratulations, Lana, for your new appointment.
Thank you, Councillor Lim.
You can go ahead. Oh, sorry, they've locked her off again.
Same here whilst we're at it. I'd like to congratulate you too, Councillor Formoso. Thank you, Councillor Foster.
Now,
Congratulations. Someone moved me, I can't even talk.
Oh,
please speak. Please speak,
Congratulations,
Councillor Formoso.
Thank you, fellow councillors. Thank
I'm
you.
just a bit concerned we've lost the mayor.
That's right. Maybe the deputy can take over.
I'm still here, so you haven't got rid of me yet.
Okay, she's still there.
Yep.
I can't see you.
All right. For the last few minutes, we've been off the air. So, Councillor Formoso, if you would like to now make your comment on your appointment onto the South East Leisure Committee, please.
Yep, sorry about that. I was eagerly making the statement before I should have. But like I said, once again, I'd like to thank my fellow councillors for entrusting me to be the council representative for South East Leisure Board. As everyone's well aware, I'm very passionate about sport, wellbeing and recreation in our community, and I look forward to representing my fellow councillors on the board. Thanks very much.
Councillor Garrard, do you want to say something?
I just wanted to congratulate Councillor Formoso, Madam Mayor, and just wish her well, and we're all very confident she'll do a great job.
Councillor O'Reilly.
Thank you, Mayor. Congratulations to Councillor Formoso. I think this is quite a watershed day on this council because it's the first time that we'll have a special board to oversee the management of our new aquatic and wellbeing facility. And it's analogous to when this council decided to create the Dandenong Market Board, in that there were a whole lot of talented and dedicated individuals that really drove improvement, efficiencies, and most important, great services for our residents onward and upward. And I can just see with this board and someone like Councillor Formoso, who those that don't know is absolutely dedicated to health, fitness and well-being. I just can't wait to see some of the things they're going to come up with to promote our community's health and increase participation. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor O'Reilly. I would also like to congratulate Councillor Formoso on this appointment to this committee. Thank you. Anyone else want to speak? Councillor Lim, please.
Yes, just like to congratulate Councillor Formoso as well for her new position and wish her all the best to take care of our new Southeast Leisure. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Mamedi.
Yeah, thank you. Congratulations, Councillor Formoso. The Southeast Leisure Board appointment as our council rep is going to be great. This is the four main biggest assets that this council owns. They're probably a combined maybe $200 million assets that this board will lead, and Councillor Formosa's experience in background will be a good leading the council and keeping us informed of what's going on. So I congratulate her and wish her well in her appointment.
Thank you. Any other councillor? No? Thank you very much. Item number 5, notices of motion. There are no notices of motion. Item number 6, reports from councillors, delegates and councillors' questions. We will go from Councillor Dark.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I have a couple of questions this evening. My first question is with regards to a planning application to the Acting Director of Planning with regards to a property at 12 Warragamba Court in Keysborough. I've received, particularly over the weekend, a lot of correspondence from residents in the court who have expressed concern about the development. Now, I have forwarded on some correspondence to the Director of Planning regarding this, and I have had quite a few more residents in the court follow up with me as well, as they had heard that there was some amendments that were done to the planning application, but they haven't been notified of exactly what those amendments are. I was just wondering to the relevant director whether or not we convey that back to the residents or the objectors of the amendments that the applicant is proposing, and secondly, when this is expecting to come to council.
Right. Mr. Thorley, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for the question, Councillor Dark. Look, I'm aware of the correspondence that's currently that's been received by council, and all I can say at this stage is that we take the questions on notice and get back to you with the relevant information in short course. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Thorley. Councillor Dark.
Thank you, Mayor. My next question is to do with the Gaelic Park in Keysborough Southward on Perry Road. I've had an inundation of inquiries, and I believe they've also reached out to Councillor O'Reilly as well. This has been with regards to a planning application which has been submitted further forward and then was apparently then rejected by council. This was an application which had to do with the community facilities that the Gaelic Park offers to many different multicultural and community groups. I'm aware that the planning application came back. I've been completely inundated. I would say over 20, 30 phone calls of people who are members of the Gaelic Club who are deeply concerned about what the planning application has happened with the Gaelic Park. I'll forward on all the correspondence I've got via email as well. But I do just want to find out from the relevant director where exactly we're up to and if we are assisting the Gaelic Club with the issues that they're currently facing.
Mr. Thorley, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for your question, Councillor Dark. My understanding is that council officers have been working in conjunction with the Gaelic Park community there. They are currently working to help them provide or gather more information on existing use rights and previous use of the facility for functions, which is the current application before council. I'm not sure where that is at this stage, sorry, Councillor Dark, but I can get that information for you and reply to you in due course. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Thorley. Councillor Dark.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, my next question is following on from my question asked at the last council meeting to do with in the Noble Park Ward, there's poor lighting at the end of Goodman Drive going through to Tower Court and then through to the Yeoman Railway Station. The response that I got back from the Plan Department had to do with raise the concerns to do particularly with the Mole Creek crossing bridge overpass, and that is I suppose the biggest issue that the resident had previously raised with me. It's going once you go through Goodman Drive into Tower Court and then through Tower Court into the walkway leading across to where the large development is on Hannah Street. That seems to be the issue. And I understand that there was concern about the biodiversity issues, about adding some lights within an area, a walkthrough. And this is, I suppose, the biggest area. I just want to find out what the threshold is for, I suppose, the biodiversity impacts versus the public safety of residents.
Mr. Keasley, I think that's your area.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That particular response was undertaken through Jane Brodie with regards to Jodie's area. I am aware of what Councillor Dark is talking about. So look, I'm happy with Jamie Thorley to perhaps take that one offline and have a further conversation about that and get back to Councillor Dark at the time.
Thank you very much. Councillor Dark, is there anything else?
Yes, Mayor, I have one final question as well. I did get a quick bit of correspondence with regards to the reserve at the corner of Kabinda Drive and Chandler Road in Keysborough. Some time ago, I raised this to do with some kids that were running across the road with a cricket ball at the time and the near misses that have occurred. There was, I believe, programming for the construction of a small fence. I had the resident call me in the weekend that they had a couple of soccer balls go onto Chandler Road coming off the path. There's a lot of kids were down there during lockdown. I just want to find out when we are planning on constructing this fence. If I could please get that back to me, that would be great. And that's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Formoso, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I've been very busy, obviously, getting ready for my new appointment on the South East Leisure Board, so doing a lot of homework for that. I do have a question, though. A resident contacted me regarding a service card that we issue to our residents if requests that haven't been answered within 10 business days happen, and that's a sort of customer guarantee that we have. I didn't know anything about that, and sure enough, I checked our website and it is there. So how would one go about obtaining such a service card, and what does it actually entail? So if the appropriate officer could respond, please.
Ms Sprague, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor, thanks for that question. Yeah, Councillor Formoso, that's if our service levels aren't met in time. So if a service request comes through customer service or through our website, it goes into our merit system, and the person requesting the service is either contacted by an officer, or if it's not met in time, someone contacts them to advise them about progress and when it will be met, or what follow-up action might be taken. So if anyone has a problem with us meeting those requests in time, there's a whole process on our website that they can go through to have action taken or to have it escalated, I guess, in essence.
Thank you, Ms Sprague.
Does that answer your question?
Not particularly, sort of. I just wanted to know what kind of service card, and I do understand it's a sort of customer guarantee service, but how would they go about obtaining this service card, and what does it actually involve? What kind of service card?
So there's service cards for different areas of the business. So not all of our areas have service cards. I think if a particular request for a service is put in, the work is undertaken, then officers respond by leaving a card to let the customer know that that has been fulfilled and undertaken. I know we've received some requests from other areas within council recently, so we're probably looking at expanding that service into other areas. So it's really just that feedback mechanism to let people know that their request has been fulfilled. But like I said, if people feel like their action hasn't been taken on their request, there is a series of steps that they can go through. Initially, they should certainly get back in contact with us to have that followed up. But there's also a series of escalation points if they don't feel that we've met that service level within the required time frame.
Thank you, Ms Sprague. Councillor Formoso.
Thanks, Ms Sprague. That's all from me. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Foster, please.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Just the one question tonight. We have the census night tomorrow, and we're obviously in a lockdown, and I'm concerned that many of our residents, particularly those who perhaps are non-English speaking or perhaps have trouble with using devices to fill out their form online. My concern, Madam Mayor, is that I know that the libraries have a census support session to be held shortly, but if our lockdown does continue, does Council have a plan in place to reach out to such residents? Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Mr Fiddler, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor, for the question. Yes, in our COVID lockdown planning, we've gone into contingency mode, which is to offer support both through our customer service and also through our library support line. So we'll be promoting that through our socials, through all our media platforms, on how the community can, if they need assistance, they can contact us, and then either through the library or through customer service, we'll provide support. There is translation and interpreting supports available as well. It's not all happening on Tuesday night, tomorrow night. There is a couple of weeks till the end of August. So if people have any concerns about it, they just need to get in contact with us, and we'll see what support we can provide. Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Fiddler.
Can I also just want to add to that, Aidan? So anyone from the Cambodian background, they also can contact the Cambodian Association of Victoria. So they do have help as well, like through on, if you can visit the CAW office or by phone as well, so they can do the translation for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tan.
Excuse me, Mayor, apologies. I forgot to say that there is a 24-hour hotline available as well with the census and with the ABS, Australian Bureau of Statistics. We're also available to provide support in a range of languages and formats. So people can contact us, or they can contact the census helpline. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fiddler. Councillor Foster.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Fiddler and Councillor Tan. That's really helpful. I think this data, and I think everyone knows I'm a stats person. I like my data, but this data from the census is so important to understanding what services we need in our community to meet our residents' needs. So it's also a compulsory thing that we all need to do. So I urge my fellow councillors, apologies. I urge my fellow councillors to please promote the census, but also the assistance that our council provides. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Foster. Councillor Garrard, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, I was very pleased to see that the hard work of Keysborough South residents and the council traffic team has paid off. We've just been informed that the number 815 bus will now be redirected into Keysborough South. This has been a long-awaited happening. It will soon now move down Perry Road, along Church and up Chapel, and during the week service Mount Hera School. This is a result of a great collaborative effort, and I thank everyone for the time and effort they put into this. So, Madam Mayor, my first question is without notice. It's a follow-up question to the earlier one. Through you, Madam Mayor, is a question about the regulation of large trees on private land. I note that Mr. Thorley only mentioned some of the metro councils that have regulations or other controls, and also not the current ones that are considering regulations or other controls. Can we please have a complete list?
Mr. Thorley, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor, Councillor Garrard, certainly we can get that information for you and provide what we can.
Maybe send it to all councillors, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My next question is, unfortunately on the weekend there was an incident, as Councillor Dark was saying in the other parts of Keysborough, there was an unfortunate incident where a child was almost hit by a car in the Pirate Park section of Keysborough South. Unfortunately, the basketball court is situated very close to the road and creates a safety risk when the ball inevitably lands on the roadway. The roadway is now a very busy thoroughfare, and the park is used extensively, particularly during lockdown. Can the council please conduct a safety audit on this issue as quickly as possible and come up with some short and long-term solutions?
Mr. Keasley, please.
Thank you, Councillor, and thank you for bringing this matter to our attention. Issues relating to child safety in parks, whether in or not close proximity to roads, is crucial. So yes, my team are now aware of this particular matter and they will undertake an audit. I should be able to get some information to you on the timing of that in the next couple of days. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Keasley. Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My next question also relates to safety audits. I'm just wondering about the safety audit that was to be conducted on the walkthrough behind Chandler Drive in Keysborough South. Due to the high number of incidents of vandalism and antisocial behaviour in this area, the residents want to know how the council will keep this area safe.
Mr. Fiddler, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor, for the question. I can confirm that the safety audit has been completed and it's going to be discussed at the Community Safety Advisory Committee meeting on the 11th of August. And it's proposed that a subsequent meeting will be scheduled with interested residents following this committee meeting. So we should have a date fairly soon after the 11th of August. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Fiddler. Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My next question is, will the council consider setting up a living greener incentive program such as Green Money, Live Greener and Get Rewarded, as other councils such as Bayside have done? These programs provide incentives such as free coffee in collaboration with local businesses to reward sustainable and planet-friendly actions.
Mr. Thorley, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for the question, Councillor Garrard, and bringing this to our attention. Council officers will certainly discuss this program with our counterparts at Bayside to gain a further understanding of the program and what it entails. Once further information has been obtained, we'll consider this and whether we need to bring it before council, and then that we could consider it as a similar program. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Thorley. Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, each federal election, there is a greater Dandenong Council advocacy agenda used to lobby MPs and candidates that is made publicly available, so residents can know what we are lobbying for on their behalf. When will the advocacy agenda for the coming federal election go up to the public?
Ms. Bragg, please.
Thank you. And through you, Madam Mayor, each year Council reviews and updates its advocacy document. So at a minimum, this is done prior to each state and federal election, but also the years in between so local MPs can assist us with our advocacy efforts. As you state, Councillor Garrard, these documents are then made available on our website. This was most recently updated in June this year, so only just a couple of months ago. As soon as we have an idea of when the federal election will be held, the most pressing issues will be discussed with councillors and a document is prepared then quite quickly. Once that's finalised for election candidates, it will also be placed on our website and made available to the public.
Thank you, Ms. Bragg. Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Is the Greater Dandenong Multicultural Leaders Network operational yet? And if not, when will it be? And has there been any discussions with various groups, such as sustainability teams, as to how the new network can be used to inform our environmental and sustainability education efforts?
Mr. Fiddler, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor, for the question. The Greater Dandenong Multicultural Communities Network is operational with 10 active members, and our council officers from the community development team have discussed the preferred process of engagement with the environment and sustainability teams, and the relevant plans will be shared with the network for comment. We're currently discussing with them, looking at dates for August. It's a network that doesn't have set meeting dates. They respond as needed to plans and policies and other things that we need feedback on. So we'll be talking to them about a time and we hope to have that confirmed for August. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Fiddler. Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can I just ask a follow-up to that one? So, Mr. Fiddler, through you, Madam Mayor, has the network been used as yet? Is it operational currently?
Mr. Fiddler,
I believe they have been meeting. They've been going through an induction process. They've actually had some members come and go. So there's currently an EOI out for additional members. So as I said, it's not a set number of people in a committee. It's quite fluid. People can come in and out. But I do believe they have been providing feedback on a range of things. I could provide that information in more detail if you would like that. I don't have that with me right now. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Fiddler. Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Mr. Fiddler. I'd really appreciate that information. I think it's a really innovative program, and I think we should be highlighting when we're using this. I think it's cutting edge, and it's good for people to know that we're doing that. Madam Mayor, my next question is, what is the status of the mobile environmental sustainability trailer project? Is it now out for tender or not, and when is it expected to be?
Mr. Thorley, please.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Garrard, and through you, Madam Mayor. The expression of interest process for the mobile environmental trailer project is expected to go live by the end of this month, pending our final sign-off from all internal business units. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Thorley. Councillor Garrard.
That's it for me, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lim.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Just my first question is just going to ask the relevant officer regarding to outdoor dining. The last couple of weeks, there's some business owner keep coming to ask me when it's going to happen, the outdoor dining that the council is going to provide on the food pass. Yeah, so please let me know roughly when it's going to happen.
Mr. Keasley, please.
Thank you, Councillor. Is this with regards to the matter of umbrellas and structures on the footpath, or is it a matter of just general seating?
Yeah, okay. that's regarding the umbrella and the seat on the footpath.
The latest update I have is that we are in a process of getting letters to each of the individual restaurants or interested parties to sign, showing their interest. The reason for that is that upon installation, the umbrellas and shade structures or screens will actually be handed over to them to maintain in an ongoing way. It won't be council's responsibility. And we do have a contractor appointed that will be installing the umbrellas and the screens. What I will do is I'll get an update on the expected date or timeframe of the installation and when it will occur. Thank you, Mayor.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Lim, any more?
Yep, just like to add on Councillor Eden Foster regarding to the census. Actually, yeah, our pharmacy can provide some services. The last 2 weeks, a lot of our customer from different nationality rang us to ask a lot of questions about census, how to fill it, how to get the form from the census department. Like I said, like Councillor Tan already mentioned, you can go to Cambodian Association, you can come to Lim's Pharmacy, we provide services as well. And not just that, you can go to SAMVAC to ask some help, or can ring SAMVAC to ask some help. And last Friday, I went on Facebook to talk to the Facebook in Sydney. They interviewed me regarding to the census, how to fill the form, how to avoid some penalty or some fines or sort of thing. And also last night as well, I spent so many hours to explain to our community how to fill the form, how to come to ask any question. If you have any issue, can come to my pharmacy as well. Yeah, thanks for that, Madam Mayor. That's all.
Tomorrow.
Thank you. Someone talking? No?
Yeah, that's all for me. Yeah.
That's all for you. Thank you very much. Councillor Mehmedi, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Question regarding the material aid program we have. I'm sure that there was money till September, I think, or October. What's going to happen after that date comes?
Mr. Fiddler, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor. Yes, Councillor Mehmedi, the program is continuing. So we currently have funds, as previously said, to the end of September. But with COVID lockdowns continuing, we continually talking to the state government about extensions of funds. I think, as mentioned earlier in a briefing, there hasn't been a great demand at this stage on those funds. So we will continue to resource the 14 agencies that are providing that support throughout the municipality. And if it gets to a point where we need more, we'll be talking to our partners in the state government about those funds, but at this stage they are state government funds that we're using. And yeah, I'll give council an update if anything changes there.
Thank you, Mr. Fiddler.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Fiddler. It's been really important for our community, especially the 14 agencies that are helping our community. We need to make sure that it continues, and thank the staff that have been manning up these areas of council. I know the librarians and other departments they work in, and they've stepped in and they're doing a magnificent job, and the community is really appreciative. Through you, Madam Mayor, my next question is, in the 2021-22 budget, we've got some money to lay some concrete on Dandenong Creek. There's been motorbikes going down Dandenong Creek, and they've been digging up the walking track, and there's people who have got disabilities, and it's making it very difficult for them to walk. They've called me up, and I did tell them that we've got this in the budget. Can we just have a report on when that's going to happen?
Mr. Keasley, please.
Thank you, Councillor. With regards to the proposed works, I'll get back to you on the timing and schedule of that. With regards to the matter of the motorbikes and things, do we know whether or not the residents would have contacted the police and/or local laws? Maybe that's something you could relay that to them if it continues.
Yeah, I did tell them to call the police, but I didn't think about calling our local laws. I'm not sure if we got any local laws on motorbikes to catch them, but I did advise them to call the police.
Okay. Well, what I'll do is I'll have a chat offline with Jamie Thornley, but also I'll follow up with our engineering team with regards to the timing of that particular project.
Thank you, Mr. Keasley. Also, through you, Madam Mayor, I've had a lot of people call me regarding the older stockyard site in front of where the COVID testing station is. I know we letterboxed the surrounding area, but how can we let the wider community know what's going on? Because it's a very busy road, Cheltenham Road, and they can see these busy big tractors and trucks and things moving a lot of soil around. I've been getting a lot of phone calls saying, how come there wasn't an announcement that the stadium's getting built? I said, hang on, it's not the stadium. I know it's we did give the land to the government for the grade separations, but how can we let the wider community know what's going on?
Mr. Keasley, please.
Thank you, Councillor. That is always a tricky question on how do we make the broader. I'll have a conversation with Ms. Sprague with regards to putting out some further details, either a press release or putting something on our website. We did ask the authority to expand quite considerably their letter drop, so it does go into a large part of that particular estate, right down to the creek, Allen Road, Allen Street, etc. But as you said, that doesn't necessarily capture those people driving past. Even if we wanted them to put signage on the side, people really wouldn't be a great thing for people to be driving past at 60 or 70 trying to read a sign. So look, leave that with us. We'll have some thought about how we can best address that. There is some information, and we've given out phone numbers for people to contact the authority directly. They are quite happy to take any inquiry from any member of the community with regards to the works that they're doing on that site. And essentially, it's just a storage facility for works that they're doing. We're hoping that perhaps the level of activity that's occurred over the last sort of week and a half, certainly this week, will scale down somewhat because essentially it's just set up works.
Thank you, Mr. Keasley.
And thank you, Madam Mayor.
Is that it for you, Councillor Mehmeti? Yep, thank you. Councillor Milkovich, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yep.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do have one question for tonight. Before I ask the question, though, I would like to say that as the curtains have been drawn to Tokyo Olympics, which I've been following with the great interest, I'd just like to congratulate our Australian athletes on their equal best performance at any Olympics. 46 medals, 17 gold, one for every day of the competition, 7 silvers and 22 bronze. They really do make us proud. 6th overall in the competition. So well done to boys and girls that have gone there and given their best in tough conditions and extreme circumstances with the COVID restrictions and no audiences and, obviously being delayed by a year. At the same time, I would also like to congratulate my native Serbia on the best ever performance on the Olympics. And as you may know or may not know, they actually won the last gold medal in the water polo Olympics, which was the closure of the Olympic Games. So well done to them both. It makes me proud to call myself an Australian and a Serbian of a Serbian descent. And I wish them the best of luck at the next Olympics, both of them. They make us proud, or they make me proud indeed. Now, one question that I've got for relevant officers is I have had literally numerous complaints and calls over the months, which, sometimes we can answer, sometimes we can't, regarding the four-wheel drives using the end of Brady Road where sort of dead end is before you sort of go into the paddocks, where four-wheel drives use them as a test track and really just rip up the footy field, the land on the right-hand side as you go towards Endeavour Hills. It's basically like a four-wheel drive testing track. And then what happens as a consequence of them using that, they go back on the road on Brady Road and try to get rid of all the mud from their cars and drive at really excessive speeds. And the residents are quite concerned because obviously there are kids, using the bike track there, walking with their parents. It's a beautiful place, a beautiful part of Dandenong North, which people visit quite often. Is there anything at all possibly that we could do to stop this kind of behavior, either gate it or put some sort of, bollards or anything at all that can stop these four-wheel drive guys using it as their own personal testing track? Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Is that you, Mr. Keasley?
Yes, I'm happy to give the question an initial attempt and then probably have to take some part of it on notice. My understanding is that land is actually owned by Parks Victoria. So as soon as you get past the Dandenong Creek into that other area where we are aware that vehicles then turn right up through the bushes and those sorts of things. So that area is owned by Parks Victoria. We will again, I'm sure that we've addressed it with them in the past, but I'm happy to look back through all of that, seek some further commentary from them. They had previously put the gates at the end of that particular road, not far from the land that you're talking about with regards to access of four-wheel drives. It may well be that there might be another opportunity for them to bring the gate somewhat more forward, or maybe, other uses of large rocks or barriers to prevent vehicles from getting up there. So if you leave that one with us, we'll make some contact through to Parks Victoria and probably also use Jim Devine in Mr. Fiddler's area with regards to his contacts. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Keasley. Councillor
Thank you, Mr.
Milkovich.
Keasley. That's all, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor O'Reilly, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I've just got one question without notice this meeting, and I've been thinking about how things are changing with COVID and how it might look beyond COVID and what you might call the COVID normal, etc. And I was thinking that given that more people have been forced to use online communication methods, and I understand that the use of Snaps and Solve app is growing, which is a good thing. Just interested in, with our customer service centre, that is primarily done by phone at the moment, is there any plans, does Council have any plans to introduce technologies like online chat, officers meeting with residents via online meetings? Because I think if we leverage some of these new technologies, it'll be more efficient for council and more efficient for residents. And I just would like to know if and how we're exploring new technologies to make it easier for residents and council to communicate with each other.
Ms. Sprague, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor O'Reilly, for the question. I think you're doing a promotion for us because we certainly have been using the chatbot. Since the redevelopment of our website, we've introduced a new chatbot, which is largely automated based on people's questions. So as we get more of the same questions, the answer gets refined each time. But we also have the ability for people to speak to a customer service officer online in real time. So we have some of our officers trained up to answer those questions in real time. But our chatbot facility is very advanced now. It's based on one that a few other councils are using, and we're actually sharing the information and data. So as other councils are getting similar questions, we're sharing the answers and sharing that intel across our website. So that's up and running, where that's growing in popularity as well. You'll notice it on our website as you go onto certain pages, particularly if you go onto the Contact Us page. The little bubble pops up and offers an online chat to our customers. So yes, that is available now. As far as the other part of your question, you talked about online chats just with officers. I dare say they would be happening now. We have what we call surface hubs set up in a number of our meeting rooms across council. Similar to what we're using tonight, we have the ability to meet with people online. So that's both each other, staff who are working from home and in the office, and councillors, as well as community members. But certainly, more so in the last 12 to 18 months, we have definitely increased our technological offering, and we're making ourselves as available as possible to our customers. It's lovely to welcome people in when we have our service centres open, but when they're closed as they are now, we still do take calls and online chats and face-to-face video conference calls if that's what people would like.
Thank you, Ms. Bragg.
Thank you, Mayor.
Is that all, Councillor O'Reilly?
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Tan, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to give some report. This is a few events I attended to from the 26th of August to 9th of September. On the 29th of July, I attended the councillor briefing Dandenong Community Hub. On the 2nd of August, I attended the waste and cleansing programs. The 4th of August, I attended the Interfaith Networks 2021 annual AGM. So I just want to also congratulate the new president, Father Jean Marvel, and the vice president, Mrs. Ross Blade AMs. And on that evening, I also attended the citizenship ceremony with the mayor and councillor Bob Milkovic the first time. So congratulations to the 80. Actually, it's 100 and around 100. New citizens that joined our City of Great Dandenong, so congratulations to everyone. My question tonight also regarding to the new bus stop that will be installed in Keysborough South, and so I just want to say congratulations to everyone. So I just want to find out, because this is the provide the connection between Noble Park Station and all the way to Keysborough South, so the road existing from the Parkmore Shopping Centre along Perry Road, Church Road and Chapel Road. So my question to the relevant officer is that with the installation of the bus, how come there's no installation of bus shelter? Can we get a request from the DOT or Department of Transport to have at least place a bus shelter, because it's one of the issue that we have in our area at the moment, especially in winter area, in cold season like winter, especially in summer, people just waiting around for the bus with no shelter. So that will be mainly our resident issue. Can we request or inform anyone to get a bus shelter, please?
Mr. Keasley, please.
Thank you, Councillor, and through you, Mayor. Councillor, you raise a very, very important question. As we indicated, and I think Councillor Garrett has referred to it, there is information currently out with regards to the Department of Transport and the new route number 815, which I think you're also referring to. We have been informed, much to our great disappointment and much to probably an advocacy campaign that we will be commencing, no doubt, that the bus stops along that particular route will not include bus shelters. So again, I can't understand why that is the case in 2021, when we know with regards to impacts of weather, that the importance of having somewhere that you can shelter whilst waiting for a bus is crucial. All I can advise is that if the residents and those that are talking to any councillor with regards to the current and ongoing consultation with the Department of Transport that they are running, because it is their bus service, I would encourage everybody to put in a request for a bus shelter through the entire route. We will be advocating continually on this matter, and that's something that we hope to advise council on in the coming months, but it will be very much a separate decision on bus shelters as compared to the one that Councillor Milkovich and others have been referring to with the more needy of the installation of the ones that have been removed due to a recent audit that was undertaken. So again, all I can reiterate is that we understand that bus shelters are not going to be included in the new route, and that with DOT undertaking a consultation process at this point, we would encourage a lot of people and residents to make sure that their voices are heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Keasley. Councillor Tan, please.
Thank you. Thanks, Paul. My next question just regarding to homelessness issues. So obviously, with COVID, it's been locked down. This is our 6th time lockdown already. I know it's got really frustrated with everyone, and especially the main impact with the small businesses, and especially with residents who can't even afford, especially you can see now a lot of renting's gone up. A lot of people lost their job. They wouldn't have nowhere to live. So the increasing of homelessness in our Greater Dandenong also increased. So in terms of our council, I mean, what can we do to at least help the resident during this tough time? Thanks.
Mr. Keasley, is that you? Sorry, Mr. Fiddler, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor. Look, if the councillors or anyone listening or reading the minutes has concerns about people sleeping rough in our community, they can contact the housing support services. So the two main ones in our community are Launch Housing and Ways. There is also a 24-hour support service managed for Victoria through the St Kilda Crisis Centre. So that's trying to address the immediate challenges of people sleeping rough. And also, I know from the conversation we've had recently with both Launch and Ways, they're also willing to come and talk to small businesses if people have concerns about sleeping rough at the front of their properties or businesses. They're welcome to have conversations with them as well. You're right, it is a housing system that is under pressure, and this council is doing a number of things in conjunction with a bunch of other councils in a mayoral task force, and also around other advocacy and practical issues that will be shared over the next few months. But it's a considerable and important issue that we need to support people who are sleeping rough in our community or finding it hard to pay the rent. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fiddler. Councillor Tan, please.
Yes, so my last question also regarding to the dump rubbish, as you know, because everyone's in lockdown at the moment, so they try to clear their house or do some cleaning. So I can see a lot of all the streets, you can see all the hard rubbish being booked. Obviously, some of them might be illegally not someone else dump it on someone else's property. And in terms of our services, because due to COVID, is there going to be any delay with the hard rubbish collection?
Mr. Keasley, please.
Thank you, Councillor. I'll have to check with regards to whether or not there are any current delays with the delivery of that particular service. I would hope not, but then again, we do have to respect the needs of the companies that do collect the dumped rubbish, or sorry, I shouldn't say dumped rubbish, it is allocated hard waste. And that's something I can certainly inform you of and the other councillors in the coming days.
Thank you, Mr. Keasley. Councillor Tan.
That's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. On the 4th of August, I attended the online meeting of the Interfaith Network AGM 2021. Also that night, I attended 2 ceremonies for citizenship, 90 new citizens at each ceremony. On the 6th of August, I attended the Showcase Women's event in the Loop online. Guest speaker, Dr. Louise Mahan. Thank you very much. Questions taken on notice, Mr. Benny?
Mayor and councillors, there were 27 councillor questions taken on notice at the last meeting. All of those have been responded to and are tabled in these minutes.
Thank you very much. Item number 7, urgent business. As there's no urgent business, I declare this meeting closed at 8:55. Thank you very much for your attendance and good night.